Hi guys, welcome back to another video. My name is Ugu and today I bring you my most excited books from 2021. So I'm back here with my computer so I can say the books that are new releases next year, that I'm excited to tell you what they are about and the date of their release. So let's start. This is going to be for the first trimester, so January to March, and I'll be dividing this in the channel by 3 months. I will come and update you in the books that I've read. From that will be a start in my stats from the end of the year, but also which books I'm excited for the next trimester, and so on and so on. The first book I want to talk about is Lore by Alexandra Bracken. She's the author of The Darkest Minds. I check it out before I film it because the name was popping in my head, like I know that name from some place. And yes, she is the author from The Darkest Minds, and Lore comes out on January 5th, 2021, of course. So this is set on the Greek mythology, which is a theme that I really love. I love mythology, every single type: Chinese, Japanese, African, Greek, Northern, Nordic. I love mythology overall, and so this book comes with me like a pleasure. The book is about that every 7 years the Agon begins, a punishment for the past rebellion. 9 Greek gods are forced to walk the earth as mortals, haunted by the descendants of ancient bloodlines, all eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. Ooh, very dark. Very, very dark. But long ago, Lore, our main character, decided to abandon that brutal world, and she pushes the revenge that she wants against the man, now a god, responsible for their death. This is setting on New York City, so a childhood friend of Lore comes to her and asks him for help, among with one of the last original gods, Athena. So they must forge an alliance against their mutual enemy, and at last a way for Lore to leave the Agon behind forever. But Lore's decision to blind their fate to Athena's and rejoin the hunt will come at a deadly cost. I really love Greek mythology, and I'm really excited to know what this is about. What is the Agon? Why they are killing the gods? Why she was seeking revenge? This has everything to work with me. I'm in love. Next book I want to talk about is You Have a Match by Emma Lord. So I've read Tweet Cute, which was her first book, and I found it very cute. Tweet cute, you understand? And I found it was very enjoyable. It wasn't brilliant or the best book I ever read, but it was very enjoyable for a YA book. And this is a little bit different. So we have Abby that signs for a DNA service, and she have a lot of problems because he has a BEI, which is big embarrassing incident, with Leo, which is her best friend. So she's an avid photographer, and by that DNA service she discovers she is a younger sister, so she has an older sister that she doesn't know about, and she doesn't know why their parents gave up her to adoption. So she goes to this camp and tries to connect with her sister, who is a social media queen, as she calls it. It's hard to believe they're from the same planet, never mind the same parents. It's going to be interesting because it will be two realities collide, and it also be about why you give up someone to adoption. This is also always a hard topic to talk about. And I really love Emma Lord in Tweet Cute, so I'm really excited for this one also to read it. So You Have a Match comes out at January the 5th. The next book is also on my list and on my radar is Into the Heartless Wood by Joanna Ruth Meyer. This is an impossible love between a monstrous tree siren and the boy who lives in the edge of her woods. So these woods have a witch who kidnaps persons and men and women to their death and use their souls to feed the heartless tree. And she has Siren, the siren tree, that saves the life of this boy, and they start to fall in love. So it's very much a little bit of Little Mermaid vibes, but also has a witch who collects souls to continue this 3, and I'm really excited. It's not the most excited, but I think it's interesting. I really want to know why the Heartless would need souls and why the witch is bad. That's the things I want to know more. But this book comes out at January the 12th. Another book that comes out also in January 12th is The Other Mother by Matthew Dix. This is the author from Memories of an Imaginary Friend. So this one follows Michelle Parson and is dealing with a lot. His father's sudden death, his mother's new husband, Glenn, who he loathes, his 2 younger siblings, who he looks after more that his mother works extra shifts. And the most impressive thing about this is that one day Michael wakes up and he finds out that her mother was replaced by someone who is identical like her, but only Michael understands that her mother is missing. So the woman that they saw all day is not his mother, and he tries to discover why his mother was replaced and how to fix it and not to be in panic. And I'm really excited about, because a lot of these tropes happen on thrillers, but usually with adults that deal with alcoholism, mental problems, and this is a kid dealing with suddenly waking up and that's not my mother. I feel you're not my mother, but everyone sees you are my mother. I have to fix this. When I read the synopsis, I said, I want to read that book next year, definitely. So another book that comes out in 19th of January is Casting Firelight by Dana Swift. So this is the first book in an epic heart-pounding fantasy duology about 2 royal heirs who have to marry, but they won't be happy about it because they are rivals. We have Adra, which is the heir of Belwar, and Talent, which on the cusp of taking her royal ceremony test, and the girl who wants to prove her worth to her people. And then we have Jatin, the royal heir of to Napuru. I don't know how to say this, but Naupuru, who is a competitive wizard who mastered all 9 color magics. And this is what is interesting for me. It's what is 9 color magics? Which is color magics? I want to know if it's based on colors, or must be based on colors, but like light, or just because he sees blue he can make work things with this. I want to know that. So they have to marry because then the kingdoms will be united and be very powerful, but they won't like those so much about it. Between dodging deadly spells and keeping those through themselves hidden, the pair must learn to put their trust in each other if they either is to uncover the real threat. So it's going to be a real threat. They have to work together and save the kingdoms. I'm really excited to know what magic color is. I already said that, but that's the point. I'm most excited. And I love a young romance from hate to lovers, because I think most of the times it's based on preconceptions, and that's what deals with the problems. When they meet each other, they see you are not what I thought about who you were. That's another book I really want to read next year. The last book that comes out on January that I'm excited to read is The Last Thing to Burn by Will Dean. This comes out on January 21st, and it's a thriller. It's about a woman who is captive, and her husband calls her a different name that she knows it's not her name. She lives in a small farm cottage surrounded by vast open fields. Everywhere she looks, there is space, but she's trapped. No one knows how she got to the UK, no one knows she is there. Visitors come very rare to the farm, and if they do, she is not to be seen. So she's a captive. I love stories about people captive. Sad, of course, it's sad, but makes a great entertainment. I really love this type of stories. It's a great entertainment. It's a great how they make it possible to escape. That's brilliant. And one of the books I want to read next year from the first trimester. Now let's pass to February, and in February it comes Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. And this comes to me because it says meets Red, White and Royal Bloom, which I loved. So if people say can I have vibes, I can go with that. So this is a sci-fi book, and we follow Istak Empire, a dominant system, through treacheries and political alliance. Several planets, including Thea, have begun to chase under its rule. Basically, this is a sci-fi fiction with a lot of politics. It has an LGBT romance. Is set on the space, so it's very a lot of planets. I don't know. I felt like I don't read so much sci-fi, but I like the concepts. I like the idea of planets being ruled by another planet in the system, and they go on fights and on. Like, I like books with politics because majority of people don't like books with a lot of politics. I don't mind. I found it very interesting in fantasy, in sci-fi, having books with politics as an important factor, because then you can see how they play with each other, how they change their minds, how they make things work that way. It comes out on the 2nd of February. Another book that comes out on 2nd of February is City of Villains by Estelle Laure, and I love Disney, and this is Disney Villains met Gotham in a fairy tale inspired crime series. I like crime, I like Disney villains. I think is everything that I need to know about the book. But basically we have Mary Elizabeth Hart as she's an intern for the Monarch City Police Department, and she's very upset for being always behind the desk, and when an important case of a daughter of a powerful businessman is kidnapped, the chief says, "You go." And while she's filling one missing person report, a lot of them start to happen, and this is, as they say, leading her down the rabbit hole of the city in turmoil. This dark and edgy YA series explored the reimagined origins of Maleficent, Ursula, Captain Hook, and other Disney villains. She's go down the rabbit hole, as they say. She will find all the girl with horns, the boyfriend with secrets, what seems to be a sea monster lurking in the poison lake. So it's gonna be an origin story with crime for the Disney villains, and I love to know Disney stuff being totally real or not. I love Maleficent, the movie, and I want really to read the twisted tales and the villain stories. I'm very into that. So this is one of the books I'm also excited. So another book that comes out on February, and this comes on the 4th, is The Shadow Man by Alan Fields, and this is a thriller. So he collects victims, but he doesn't keep them safe. This is the premise. You have 3 persons, Elsbeth, Maggie, and Xavier, who are locked in a flat, and they don't know where they are, they don't know why they are there, and they only know that the Shadow Man attacked them, and he won't let them go. They start to try to escape, of course, and because they now know that the Shadow Man is not a nightmare, it's real, and he's watching them. So it's going to be very similar to The Last Thing to Burn. While there was a husband kidnapping someone who may look like his wife, or he says it was his husband, but this one follows a psychopath or someone who is a shadow man kidnapping persons and may not treat them well. I really love this type of books. As you can see, I'm very excited to read The Shadow Man. This book comes out on February 9th, and it's called The Guild Ones by Namina Forna. And this is a West African inspired feminist fantasy series, and this comes from a 16 years old Decca has to do a ceremony where she's gonna be blood tested. Basically, if the blood comes red, she will be accepted on the village, but if the blood comes gold, as he will be, she will show some impurity and will face the consequences worse than death. But when she discovers that, it's offered her a choice from a mysterious woman who says, you can live on the village and accept your fate, or you can live and fight on the Emperor's army full of girls like you. So she will be different, but will be the trope of you are different but you are powerful. And I kind of like it. These girls who have these bloods, and it's on the description so it's not a spoiler, they're called Alaki. They are nearly immortal, they have rare gifts, and are the only ones who can stop the Empire's greatest threat. I don't know, everything about this book calls to me because it will show a different, and it's based on Africa, it's a West African inspired fantasy. I like diversity. If I like the cover, if I like the description, I tend to read. It's the things that I look. I don't look for authors, I look for the cover. It's the first thing you show, so okay, catch my attention, or the description if I read it and say, I want to read that. Basically, it's my reasons. I love the idea. I will be reading on February. Also, in the 9th of February comes out another book, and this is As Far As You Will Take Me by Philip Stamper. This is an LGBT contemporary from the author of The Gravity of Us. We'll follow Marty as he arrives to London for his summer job. He is excited for his new life because he doesn't to be closet anymore. He can explore his sexuality without his parents' disapproval, which for me is a very important topic because I had the lucky of not having that problem, but I know a lot of people struggle with that, and I like to know more about that realities. And it sounds like a great story. It will be maybe not so deep, but will be interesting and will be I know it will be at least enjoyable to read, and that's what I look sometimes on these books. It's like they send small messages, may not be the hardest or the biggest messages, but will send small messages. But as long as they are enjoyable, will reach more people, and that's important. So, other book that I'm currently looking is The Witch Heart, that comes out also in the 9th of February. As I told you, I like mythology, and this is based on Norse mythology. So, when a banished witch falls in love with the legendary trickster Loki, she risks the wrath of the gods in the moving, submersive debut novel that reimagines Norse mythology. I don't need to say anything more. Mythology, witches, magic, that's all I need to know, but I'll give you more detail. The story begins with our main character, Arborde, being burned, which is typically how witches end, but this is how it begins. It's a punishment from Odin, the king of the Nordic god, for her refusing to provide him with insights on the future. So that burning leaves Angborde injured and powerless, and she flees into the forest where she meets Loki. Her initial disturb of him transforming into a deep and addiction love because she sees that he was a normal man before. So they produce 3 unusual children and will be based on this mythology. She learns there is a big danger coming up, so will be a very fantasy action with a lot of mythology on the mixture. So I'm very excited. I'm very looking for read this one. This was one of the most excited books I'm reading. I'm expecting for next year. So I'm seeing now a lot of books come out of February 9th, and it's closer to February 14th, so will be like Valentine's gifts for anyone. Maybe that's a good marketing idea. But the next book that comes out of the 9th is Black Widows. So this is a Mormon story, and it follows a Mormon community where the husband was killed and their wives are, this is talking in 3 voices of the wives who doesn't like each other, and they will see who the murder was, why, and they have to decide who is the one to trust because they all hated that man, they all hated each other, and so they have to find common grounds and play with them. This is a thriller, and I love thrillers that are passed on just in a small area, like a domestic thriller, but in different communities. This following the Mormon community. I hope we get some insights about the lives, how a Mormon community works sometimes, and having 3 voices narrating the book will have inside perspectives of each action, and I think that can be very interesting. So I'm really excited also to read this book next. In the 16th of February will come out of The Silver and Shadow by Jennifer Grunk, and this is a book about Ren Collins, who is a silver wielder, a dangerous thing to be in the kingdom of Edris, where magic has been outlawed for centuries. She's surviving by being a thief, by card games and pit fighting to get by, but when a healthy rebel leader discovers her secret and offers you a fortune to join him, but she will only receive the money after they defeat the king. On the other side, the king he's engaging on a competition whatever kills the outlaws and kills the rebel leader will be the king's fang, the right hand of the king. We'll have the double perspective of the rebellion part and the kingdom part fighting with each other. I found it very interesting. I don't know what is a silver wielder, but I'm very interested to know what that is about. If she can manipulate like metal bending, like moving silver. But basically it will be this. So that book ends the month of February. Let's go to the month of March, and the first book I want to talk about comes out on March the 2nd, and it's called Down Comes the Night by Alison Shaft. This is a gothic, deeply YA fantasy, and the main thing he says, honor your oath, destroy your country. Whoa, that's hard. So we follow Ren, a talented healer in the Queen's Guard, but her reckless actions have repeatedly put her on thin ice with her superiors. A letter arrives from a reclusive lord asking Ren to come helping with a mysterious disease, and she sees it an opportunity to prove herself to the leaders, to the bosses of her. And when she arrives to Clockig Hall and realizes that nothing is what it seems, practically when she discovers a patient is actually Hall Cadivsion, a sworn enemy of the kingdom. So she will be set not on a trap, but she will know information that may be crucial, and if she says anything could be a hero, but they also can think that she's a traitor and kill her anyway. After she discovers that, she gets stuck there because of the snow, so they have to bond and will be a romance, so they will fall in love, the rebel and her, and she will have conflicts about that. Another book that comes out in March, and this comes out on March 4th, is A Trial of Sorcerers, and this is a fantasy and a young adult fantasy. We'll follow Arya as she lives in the shadow of her older brother, the person she accidentally killed, and her magic whispers. And she's most wanted apprentice in the Tower of Sorcerers until the day she decides to compete on a spot to be on the tournament of the Five Kingdoms. In that tournament, she must fight for the best sorcerers of the Empire, and she must exile the trials as a reward. From that performance, she is invited to the royal court of the Prince of Towers, and he discovers her talent and her magic, and things start happen. The skeletons of her closet starts to come out, and a lot of things will be happen. Will be, I believe, with a lot of fantasy, a lot of magic, a lot of action, a lot of fights. So I hope will be an amazing story, and I'm really excited to know what Whisper Magic is. Another book that comes out on March 9th is Sing Me Forgotten, Jessica S. Olsen. This is a young adult fantasy and will follow Isda has the power of manipulate memories while they are singing. Since the day she was saved by Cyril, the opera house owner, and in exchange for sanctuary, she must keep the sales of the tickets on the opera high. I don't know how, but I believe we have to be with people's memory. But Isda breaks the cardinal rule that he gave her and meets Emmerich Rodin, a charming boy who throws her quiet, solitary life out of balance. His voice is unlike any she heard, but the real shock comes when she finds his memories hints of a way to finally break free of her Gilead prison. I won't say this is a Phantom of the Opera retelling. I have here on Goodreads that people put this on retelling. I won't say this is a Phantom of the Opera retelling, but it sounds interesting how she can manipulate the memories and how she can break and why she hasn't lived. That's the points I'm interested about in this book. More in the end of the month will come out The Lost in the Neverwoods by Aidan Thomas, and this is a fantasy retelling, and this is a retelling because it's been 5 years since Andy and her two brothers went missing in the woods. But when the town children start to disappear, the questions surrounding her brother's mysterious circumstances are brought back into light. So, attempting to flee her past, Wendy almost runs over an unconscious boy living in the middle of the road, and she gets pulled into the mystery hunting the town. In order to find them and rescue the missing kids, Wendy must confront and wait what's waiting for her in the woods. I love retellings, and I know this is a little bit different, so I hope will be a great example of what a good retelling is about. Another book that I'm excited about, and this comes out on March 23rd, is The Ladies of the Secret Circus by Constance Sawyers. And this gave me vibes of the Night Circus, not just because of the circus. It's passing in two different times. We have Paris in 1925 and Virginia in 2005. So in Virginia, the most recent, Laura learns that her fiancé disappeared off the wedding day, and when she is trying to look for answers, she sweeps on her great grandmother journals and a story about a dark circus and a curse that claiming a payment from the women in the family for generations. And in Paris, we'll know that circus, so we'll be living in that circus, and we have a family, strange and magical circus, and the main character on that circus will be Cecile Cabot, which I think will be Laura great grandmother, and she meets a charismatic young painter, embark on a passion affair, and could cost her everything. So I sense a lot of Night Circus vibes, the circus, the forbidden love, the magic, and I think the grandmother will be the one that ran away, and for that she was cursed from her family who owned the circus and had a lot of magic. The last book I'm gonna talk to you about is Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. I've read two books from this author, The 8 Perfect Murders and The Kind Worth Killing, so I'm very excited for this new release. And it's a bright dream honeymoon becomes a nightmare when the man with whom she had a regrettable one-night stand shows up. It's the night before the wedding she has the one-night stand, so because she was drunk. And the guy wouldn't give her a real name, and she believes she wants to be with Bruce, which is the husband. That man appears on the honeymoon, so I think will be kind of a stalker. Maybe thought that because they had one night stand they are probably in love. I don't know, but I'm really excited. I know Peter Swanson can write amazing books. I love the books that I've read from him, so I'm really excited about this one. Guys, these are my most excited books for the first trimester of 2021. Come chat with me on the comments which books are you excited to read on the first trimester that I didn't cover here. If you are excited for any of the books I cover here, I post videos every Tuesday, Thursday, and sometimes on Saturday. So I see you guys on my next video. Bye.